there! Welcome to Story Sell Your Brand with Gigi Barnett, where we show business owners how to do their own public relations and get their names in the media. Today, we're talking about facing fear. You know, the kind that rears its ugly head in your business or career. We're sitting down with a small business owner who unveils the story of how they got past it and made an impact. Story Sell Your Brand starts now. Hi, everybody. I'm Gigi Barnett. Welcome to Story Sell Your Brand, where we help service-based business owners and entrepreneurs do their own public relations. I'm so glad you have joined us for our 5-day summit on crushing fear. Over the next 5 days, we'll unveil a small business owner or an entrepreneur who has faced fear in business or in their career, and that means overall in their lives, and found a way to crush it or just simply get around it. We're putting this on all of our platforms, on YouTube, our website, the podcast. We are really getting this out there because, I decided to do this because starting a business was the most, next to being a mom, next to getting married, next to working 20 years in television, it was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yes.
And I'm almost certain that some days I'm still facing that fear, a lot of it. So much of this is going to be about me really learning from our guests and having you come along for the ride. Okay, so our guest for this episode is Vonna Matthews, and she is editor-in-chief of CEO Magazine. And I was introduced to Vonna really from listening to her popular podcast, CEOMOM, where she discusses all things pertaining to being a mom and running a business and doing it while getting success at the same time. She is a marketing and branding expert with more than 10 years experience working with nonprofit organizations and business owners. And in April 2016, she decided to launch CEOMOM magazine because, of course, life wasn't scary enough. To celebrate women who are creating their own roles as it relates to balancing career and family. And Vonna is one of those people that we wanted to work with and have inside our summit because it really worked a large part in the media. Vonna, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's actually, I think it's afternoon.
The day where you are?
Yes, it flew by. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad that you're here because I really want to jump in to what made you say, okay, I know, after doing business and having kids, okay, a magazine. What was going on there and what was going on in your business? Or did the magazine come first? Tell me, how did that work?
The business came first, and my business prior to the magazine was called V Events. And so we concentrated on event management as well as event marketing for nonprofits and small businesses. And in extension of that, we were doing marketing, graphic design, we were doing brand development and brand identity. And so I was doing that. And in 2012, I had my first daughter. And so I was I had a few clients that I would do all of their projects. And so I was on maternity leave, and one of my clients was just like, Vonna, we need you to come back now. Like, it's just like, we can't, it was almost like we just can't make it without you. And at that point I had been on maternity leave for about maybe 4 to 5 weeks. So I had planned to do at least 12. And the whole thing was new to me. The whole balancing motherhood and still trying to run my business was all new to me. And for some reason, I thought I could just live life as normal. Like, I'll just do maternity leave and I'll just jump right back into entrepreneurship seamlessly, no problems. I don't know why I thought that, because I went back from maternity leave a lot earlier than I had planned, and it just was a mess. It was not a good decision at all. And from that, the stress of trying to balance it all, I was breastfeeding, I was still at home with my daughter, I'm trying to run these projects, and I pretty much lost it. I like to tell people that CEOMOM magazine started from me just the juggle thing just wasn't working and just me going crazy. And so I started having anxiety attacks, being rushed to the hospital, thinking I'm dying because I had never experienced that before.
Yeah.
And I was just, I don't know what's going on. And so I would go to these different doctors, my OBGYN, my family practitioner, and they all would say, Vonna, it's anxiety. And I would say, no, it has to be physical. There's no way it's anxiety. And, doctor after doctor said, I promise you it's anxiety. And so I finally accepted that, did what I needed to do to get back to normal. But then I began to realize I can't be the only woman going through this. Like, I know I'm a new mom, but I can't be the only woman who is struggling with the balance. And eventually I got my routine. I pulled back a little bit. I actually ended up having to transfer that client to someone else because they were too demanding for my new lifestyle. But I was able to just kind of pick back up and do something that worked for me with my new normal. And from there, I started a lifestyle brand called Bottles Bibs and Pumps. And that was supposed to be a resource hub for women who were doing the balance thing. And I wanted to provide information. I wanted to create a community. And from there, that was such a success and people were so interested. I wanted to extend the conversation, and loving graphic design, loving media, magazine was the perfect platform for me to do that. And so that's how I transitioned into CEOMOM magazine.
Jump back for a minute to the part where you felt like you needed to go back. I have two questions, or a question and then a comment. But what made you say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it after having a small baby to take care of? What is that about us that we will go, yeah, sure, I can do it?
I don't know. I think, like I was saying, I think part of it was just taking for granted this new space I was in. I think I just felt like I could do it all. Your typical woman, I just felt like, okay, I'm at home. I can take care of her. I have already had a system with the client. I already have rapport. I knew what I was doing. So I thought I could just jump right back in. And I think it's just that thing that we go through as women where we think we can handle a lot more than we can. Yeah. And it's just having to face that reality. I think that's just where my mind was just not understanding what this new space would look like as a new mom.
Yeah, something like that happened. This is my comment to me, similar, when I had my first baby, a girl too. And I had purposed in my heart, I'm going to do the full 12 weeks and that's it. Well, I had to leave a little bit early because working in television news is not for pregnant mommies. And so it was the fast-paced TV news. And my doctor said to me, I was really getting big, and he was like, listen, I'm going to put you on a light bed rest. And I was like 2 weeks out, and he was like, you need to slow down. And I was like, nah. So he's like, nope, you're going on light bed. So I went out maternity leave early to be at home. And about 7 or 8 weeks into my maternity leave, my station calls me back and they're like, okay, you got to come back now. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, you got to come back now. And it's like, the first time that I've ever stood up for myself ever in my life, I believe, was at that point when I told them no. And I said, and I was terrified. I said, no, I'm not coming back. I don't care what you do with that position. You can hold it for me, give it to somebody else. But now this is my career, right? Like I'd worked to be there. I don't care, but she is way more valuable than you will ever be to me. Do you know they backed down? Do you know they were like, okay, we'll work it out. You can come back when you say you want to come back. That is like, I remember the night that I got the letter from them saying, okay, yeah, we'll see you when you get back. But that was like one of the biggest lessons in my life, is that no, I decide, not you, but I decide. And it came from one of the most terrifying, and I remember looking in my daughter's face and promising her, mommy is going to be here with you, I promise. Mm-hmm. And then out of that, it's kind of, so now I'm launching this business, and I'm like, so talk to me about, from there, it's gotta be fearful going to the doctor and having them saying, not one, but several saying, you need to slow down. Yeah. And then launching this business. When you launched, or when you went out on CEOMOM, what were the fears associated with that?
Well, when I ended up launching CEOMOM, I actually started Bottles, Bibs, and Pumps in 2014. Okay. So I took a break once I knew, okay, this is just not okay, I literally took a break, and I took a break for about a year and a half. I did a little bit of, projects over here and there, but I wasn't doing my business full time. I really pulled back. So by the time I got to CEOMOM magazine, transitioning from Bottles Bibs and Pumps, I was in a much better space, and I had a better understanding of what I could handle and what I needed to do and how I needed to say no when I needed to say no.
Mm-hmm.
So the fears were a little bit different. It was easier because I was more comfortable in my space. I was comfortable in my skin and with my new world and everything. So, and then actually by that time, I was pregnant when I started CEOMOM magazine. I was pregnant with my second daughter. And so I was still, but like I said, I was in a very different space and knew how to handle things on a different level and knew how to get help and all of that. So I had her March 2015, and I started CEOMOM April of 2016. So I knew how to pace myself.
What kind of response did you get? And the Bottles, Bibs, and Pumps. I'm saying that right? What kind of response did you get from other moms?
It was nothing like that had ever been done in Dallas. They had never had an event or a community where women really talked about what that balance looked like. Because this was, like I said, this was like 5 years ago at this point. And so the conversations that we're having now, they're a little bit different. So women were really excited about it because it was almost like a me too, like, yes, I'm going through that. I'm dealing with that. I want to talk about that. And we found women who really wanted to be engaged and really wanted that community and wanted to have those conversations consistently, not something that was just popular for a certain amount of time, a part of the national conversation when it fits, a certain platform at a certain time. But really, this is something that needs to be long term, because this is never going to change. If you're always balancing, you're always balancing.
Yeah, and then I guess from out of there, then you came to CEOMOM, the magazine.
Yes.
And so now the magazine is the platform to bring all those mothers together on a regular basis.
Yes, on a regular basis, have those conversations going, but also to really feature moms who are doing this, and that was one of the best responses we got, because the idea was to focus on Dallas. I mean, I'm from Dallas, we live here, and we thought that we would just focus on Dallas. And if people were interested in other cities, we would do like a CEOMOM New York and a CEOMOM LA. And what happened, we got national attention immediately. I mean, when I did the first issue, we didn't even know when the next issue was coming out. We were like, we'll just see how this goes. And we were almost forced to put another issue out quickly because of all of the attention and the response that we got. And we didn't expect it to be so national so quickly.
Was it only an online magazine at the time?
Yes, well, it was an online magazine with the option to print. So we've always formatted it so that it would be print. I see. So out of that, I mean, so you've got this great response. Were there any fears linked to that? I mean, being, first off, a national online publication where that's total spotlight, what were the fears associated with that? Well, I would say the fears, whenever I put something out there, there's a fear, will it be perceived the way I mean for it to be perceived? Like, will the message get out there? And with having such a broad audience, it feels like I can't control the message as much if I was just specific to a particular city or a particular area. And so those are some of the fears that I have a lot of times. Even international, we've interviewed women from Australia and Thailand and Canada. We have a lot of readers in Canada. So just, when you talk about these different nations and these different areas, how are these conversations different? Yeah. How are they specific to these regions? And so that's a fear, will that message be conveyed the way we want it to? And I think about that all the time. I'm always nervous anytime I put something out there. How will people take it?
How do you work through that? What do you do? You say, okay, our next publication comes out on Thursday. What are you doing on Wednesday night? How are you working through that fear?
I come from a very authentic place. I always say when it comes to creativity and content, when you're a content creator, you always have to come from a very authentic and very real place. And so I know if it's something that I'm very real and transparent and honest about, there are conversations I want to have, I'm interviewing and talking to women that I'm interested in, I always put it out there and say, okay, well, this is coming from me. And so if it's authentic, I know that somebody else can relate to it because it's always coming from that real place. We never sit down and just think about what do we think people want to read or what do we think people want to know about. Like if I'm interested in it as a mother, as a businesswoman, then my tribe, my demographic most likely will be interested as well. So I'm just learning to just push it out there with all the fears. I've learned when it comes to fear, you can't wait until it's over or you don't have it. You just have to learn to do it scared. You have to learn to do it with the fear.
Yeah. Do you ever realize though, so you just do it afraid. Do you ever realize after you've done it afraid, when you look back and go, okay, why was I afraid of that? And then now that fear is gone.
Absolutely. I don't know if the fear ever leaves.
There's always some jitters.
Yeah, it is. It's just always these nerves. But I do sometimes, I'm able to take a deep breath and say, okay, that wasn't as bad or as hard as I thought it would be. But I think I always have those little jitters, like you said, and the nerves that come with, putting yourself out there. Because really content creation, and this even as a business owner, you're constantly putting yourself out there. Always. You're constantly vulnerable. So that's the tough part. Yeah.
I mean, and it's all in television also, if you're promoting yourself, we like to say that the little bit of nerves actually give you energy and it's better. Yeah. So it's like you kind of turn that fear on its head and you use it, to push you forward and to propel you. Do you look at those lessons or those fears and then get lessons from them? And if so, what are they?
Yes, I do. One of the lessons I get, like just for a small example, like when I do the podcast, it's very hard for me to promote the podcast. I don't know. It's very hard. And so I did a little clip just this past week where I just did a little video clip from the podcast. And I was so nervous because I'm questioning my delivery and I'm like, were we too aggressive? Was the message too strong? And after I put it out there, we got a lot of views and we got a lot of people saying I needed to hear this today. And so one of the lessons that I've learned is that it's not about me. And so sometimes when I'm moving with this fear, it's always coming from a place of me. Like, how are people going to perceive me? And I've had to learn to shift that mindset and think about how are you blessing somebody else or how are you impacting someone else? How is this message? So think about the message, think about the person and the people that you're relating to rather than just yourself. So step outside of yourself. That's what I've had to learn.
Yeah. So, that's all. That's for our clients who, we get, people who want the free consultations with us, and we'll get on the phone with them and, we'll go over their plan and everything. And then we say, let's talk about TV. And they're like, no. I look this way. I sound this way. I'm not an expert. I mean, they just like all of the excuses, everything, just come flooding out with television. Print, not that way. Even radio, because they know that, people can't see my face. Podcasts, or I'll do that. But television is just like, And I have to say, when we talk about the video, I have to say to them, listen, you're so focused on, this mole on the left side of your cheek. Really, nobody is looking at that. And actually, when television with video, once I start liking you, either that mole disappears or I like it. Like you're so focused on you, and what you should be focused on is how your message is going to help someone else and why they need to hear from you, because they're the ones looking for you. And so, that's been, and I'm doing this so long, we have so many different methods, right, of helping people through the television portion in particular. But where are all of the excuses coming from for something, like that? And that's definitely is that we're so self-conscious. We're so focused on ourselves instead of realizing, as you said, what kind of blessing, what kind of benefit are you going to bring to the person who needs you? It's going to be amazing. And so this one fear that you're facing right now is going to be nothing when you look at how you're helping them.
Yes, absolutely.
So here's the other thing that I like looking at it, which is, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're probably a perfectionist. Am I right?
Yes, and I'm working on that. I'm learning though. I am learning, but I'm working.
No, we're both the same. I mean, before we started our chat, I said to you, we're probably a lot alike. But no, really, and the reason why I say that is because I feel like fears reveal so much about us. Mm-hmm. You know, because each one, we're just as individual as we are, all the fears are just tailor made to us. And so we know that all fear is, you know, false evidence appearing real, which is really a lie. I can look at that lie about what I'm thinking, and then over here, tell the truth. Like it will point me to the truth about myself. Yeah. So when you're looking at that, you know, oh, how do I sound? So what are some of the things that your fears say about you as a business owner or even as a mom?
I would say, going back to this, one of the things revealed is I have too much pride and self-centeredness. And I'm a very shy person. I'm an introvert. And so a lot of times people think that's the opposite of self-centeredness, but it actually is self-centeredness itself, because there's always this focus on you. And also just feeling like, you know, everything has to be perfect or people won't get it. And I've had to learn people are not actually looking for perfection. They're not interested in it, because you come to this realization where you know you're not perfect yourself, and it actually, perfection isn't relatable. Like nobody can really relate to people who always are just always in order and perfect, and everything is done with absolute beyond excellence. And nobody can relate to that. They relate to humanity. Yeah. And so I think for myself, that's what I've learned is I have too much pride and I'm way too self-centered. And I've got to step outside of that if I really want to see growth and if I really want to impact other people.
Yeah. I got about 2 more minutes left, but you know, as a business owner who has a magazine and a podcast, you know, getting and you got national attention, as you mentioned, right off the bat. Tell me about the effectiveness, the result of having that national attention through the media on your brand. What did it do?
It pushed me out of my comfort zone. Like, I think I was at a point where I could kind of go back into my comfort zone, leave, come back out. But I've had to, as a business owner, more than I've ever had before, even with my previous brand B events, I've had to consistently be out of my comfort zone and consistently jump. I was telling someone the other day, every day is a risk. Like, it's not this one big step you take and then you're just out there and you're done. No, every single day, the entire journey is you taking chances and you taking risks, and you get through this chance and you've got to take another one. And it's a consistent thing. And that's what it's done for me, is I've learned to just completely thrive outside the comfort zone and also let other people in. As business owners, it is, especially small business owners, you have a small team. It's very easy to function in your own world a lot. And so I've had to learn to really let other people into who I am in order to connect with them. So I would say that has been the biggest thing for me, is just always functioning outside of where I'm comfortable.
Yeah. Wow. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to, because I've learned so much from you, and just hearing the story, you know, of how you got into this and not letting fear stop you. You're absolutely right. Like, that comfort zone where people, you know, are sitting safely, that's where they're not going to see the growth, right? Like, that's where they're not going to see the boom. They're not going to see, actually, you can even go so far as to say the success that they're really looking for, is because that comfort zone area is going to keep you safe. And it's going to rob you of a lot, you know, a lot of growth and a lot of adventure and a lot of the things that they want to see. And that, I mean, I'm gonna end on that because I want to talk to the listener at this point. You know, it's like this whole piece that, as I mentioned before, we have people who call in and they want to do consultations with us, and we do those, but they are terrified of public speaking, and we know it's still the number one fear in this nation. right? Right after fear of heights, you know, but we've seen people work through those and essentially eliminate the fear that's linked to going on TV or speaking on the radio or really promoting their brands on a bigger platform, like say traditional media. People say, you know, I don't like the way I sound, like the way I look. I don't like, I'll botch the media interview, or the imposter syndrome sneaks in and takes over because they say, oh, I'm not an expert. And all of those reasons are okay. But if a business owner continues to use them, the visibility, and as I mentioned, the growth that comes from them, they won't see it. They won't. And I mean, I can talk about this forever, Vonna, forever, because I just know the power of getting your name out there and getting your message out there through the media is unmatched, you know, and I'm sure, I know you see that also in your brand as well, especially having a magazine and a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
What you're doing is so incredibly important. And I don't think enough people are really doing it. And so I congratulate you on that. And thank you so much for putting yourself out there to do that, because I'm excited to talk to you more. But yes, it is so important what you're doing.
Thank you, Vonna. And thank you also for listening. You know, if you're one of these business owners and you are really looking to get your business out there, but you're too afraid or you don't know how, you don't have a plan, let me tell you what you need. You need to kick fear in the face. You need to get a plan, and you need to get someone to help you. And we can do that. We can do that at Story Sell Your Brand. So go to storysellyourbrand.com, book a chat with us. They are free. Our consultations are free, and we will go over your visibility goals for your business, what your media plan is now, and we'll start talking about some steps on how to get you there. So thank you so much for joining us. Vonna, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me. I loved it. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm Gigi Barnett, and thank you for watching and listening to Story Sell Your Brand. Bye-bye, everybody.